So here in this video, I want to continue the conversation about presence and the nature of presence. Again, many of us have heard if we only are more present or feel more presence, everything somehow is going to work out. It seems to be the end goal, but also the starting goal of a lot of conversations in spirituality and personal development and coaching and so on. So in this video, I want to tease out actually what the experiences of presence is like and can be like. And I also want to talk about the nature of absence and the whole nature of the personality and the human ego, which is our relationship to when presence is not there, and how that really steers our lives in such a strong way. So beginning with what is presence, and I think it's worth making a couple of distinctions here. And everything I say in this video, of course, I've studied so many different teachings, psychotherapeutic, spiritual, mystical teachings over the years, and heard many different maps and takes on what presence and different spiritual states are. And what I'm going to share in this video are things that I've verified myself from the inside. So stuff that I feel to be true about how this works. I'm only going to speak from that experience. So this is what I felt and what I continually feel and believe to be the case about presence. So first of all, I think we have like a functional veneer of presence, and then we have deeper, more life-changing states of presence. So let's talk about the entry point or the veneer. I remember in my mid-20s taking some psychological and counseling training right at the beginning of my career, and it seemed that the answer to therapy and what psychotherapy and coaching and counseling was all about was taking a person who was mired in some painful or self-destructive patterns and working with them analytically and also emotionally so that these patterns could dissolve over time, and the client or the patient would gain access to a kind of presence which was often called things like an adult ego state or a generative, nurturing, high-functioning adult. And so I used to hear words like this and come to the sessions and be like, is that your only vision for me, that I become a generative, high-functioning adult, a stalwart contributor to society? And what that conjured in me was like, one day I would become this kind of vacant, passionless, emotionless, Prozac, kind of Lego brick man who lives in a nice Lego brick house with my Lego brick wife, and we would just go to work and do the social thing. So there was something really off-putting actually about growing into a healthy adult ego state, because even though I was coming to my coaching sessions and my training with a lot of pain from like crazy passionate love, right? I thought, wow, if you take away the craziness and the emotion and the passion of my love and heal all the emotions that drive that, who will I be then? Will I even like myself anymore? Will life have these beautiful highs and lows? Because part of what I love about this crazy love is the passion and the polarity and the hugeness of the highs. Sure, I don't want to suffer the lows, they break me, but I also don't want to lose the highs. And interestingly, I think it was an interview with David Lynch where he was offered psychotherapy during the 1970s. He's working on Eraserhead and, you know, the start of his amazing career. And he asked the question, if I take this psychotherapy and I analyze myself and my dreams and my unconscious content, does that mean that my visions and my emotions and my dream and the subconscious waves within me are going to be less? Is that going to affect me in any way? And the therapist was like, yeah, it can soften all that experience so you have more ease and adult about you. And David Lynch was like, no, then I don't want it, because my art is born out of those passionate things. So yeah, this debate might not seem like a lot to you, but it really made me think for a lot of years. Do I want to heal out of who I feel I am as an emotional self in order to be this kind of emotionless, generative, adult, functioning person of society, right? And all I can say is that actually I'm glad that I did clean up the emotional side in me, because when I had these states of presence and what it was like to feel a deep adultness, sure, there is the veneer of presence, but there is so much deeper underneath. So even though I lost some of the crazy love and the teenage passion, I still managed to get a kind of intoxication in my adult love life. And I think it's the difference between being a teenager and raiding your parents' booze cabinet and sticking all these spirits in one drink, putting it in a bike flask like we used to, and then getting drunk, you know, on a Friday night, is kind of that equivalent where you end up in the hospital getting your stomach pumped, and then imagining what's it like to take a few sips of an extraordinary high quality sake or mezcal or wine or whiskey or whatever your tipple. You can just have one glass and it's like super refined substance, and the intoxication is very pure, very elegant, and you're going to wake up and you're going to feel good the next day, and so on. So love becomes much more like that. So I do believe within presence there is this nurturing, generative adult capacity. And what that means is I wake up in the morning and I know I've got a to-do list and I know I've got things and people to take care of. I wake up, I don't feel much resistance. I get on and do it. There might be some voices. I wish I slept another half an hour. You know, I wish I could take a good break at the weekend, or I'm a bit tired. I hope I have a good coffee today. Yeah, all those voices can exist, but it's not like I'm waking up with resentment or a sense of resistance, which is stopping me getting out of bed, or an inability to actually live out the structure and the discipline of my life. It's like, no, I've got enough resources to live a good structure and a discipline. So that's one piece of presence, like being a grounded and clear adult. But there's more to the story. I think if we get inside the different states of presence and really feel what is there, with some real awareness and discernment, and meditation, of course, is going to help you develop this, but actually presence can be teased out in a number of different ways. So I work with a map that comes from Almaas. I'll put a link to some of his work in the description. And what Almaas brought together is a view that there are many different spiritual states or many different qualities of presence. And these ideas go back thousands of years. The Sufis have the concept of the 99 names of God. So God might be one consciousness, but the light of God diffracts in a number of different colors and hues and qualities. And so presence has this kaleidoscopic nature. I can be present, and I can feel my presence from the inside. I can be with someone who is in this state of presence and feel what quality comes through them. And I'll just name a few for example. So unconditional acceptance, self-acceptance, or unconditional acceptance of life or another person is a quality of presence. So imagine when a child is born, or you see a newborn baby. Or I had this experience recently where a cat came into our house and gave birth, and we had 4 kittens, and I saw this whole thing unfold. She did it in our wardrobe. It was like a nativity scene, and I watched these cats be born, and it was miraculous. It was like the air was suffused with this perfume of love, and it was a very soft, completely accepting love, like new life, the cuteness of the kittens, the preciousness of this being who has not formed an ego or a sense of self yet. It's just beholding someone in that state of purity. You feel unconditionally accepting of them. No one looks at a newborn baby and thinks, well, you're kind of a crap adult. Maybe there's some people out there too. There's complete unconditional acceptance. So what does it feel like to feel unconditional acceptance for a newborn, for another person, for the person you're in love with, for the world, and importantly, of course, for yourself? Can you feel for yourself the kind of, everything I do is pure and beautiful and good, and even if it's not, that there's a purity and a goodness in the intention of that, and I'm worthy of unconditional self-acceptance. So this is one of the deep forms of presence, and if you've had a lot of inner critic, or you've suffered over the years and you go through a deep healing process to heal parts of you that don't accept yourself, then one of the places that you might land in the end of this healing is like, I accept myself. I look in the mirror and I really see the goodness of what I've attempted to do all these years. I look in the mirror and I see somebody who used to experience shame, a toxic sense of shame, and now I can just look at him as I would look at a newborn kitten. It's possible. And so that's a very deep aspect, but just one aspect of presence. Another quality of presence is romantic love. Almaas calls this emerging love. It's kind of like from the heart. I see somebody, there's a particular female energy, let's say, that I just adore, and every time I look at this woman, there's just something in my heart opens, melts, her beauty, her grace, draws me towards her, and I just kind of want to merge with her intimately and lovingly and come together like these images you see of two celestial beings that kind of hug and embrace and merge and melt and become one. So this love, this romantic love in its purest sense, you might feel this in obsessive sense, but even cleared, with the obsessiveness cleared out, there's a real pureness of love that comes together. And often you meet a new partner and you date a few times and you start falling in love, and particularly if you withhold from sex for a period of time, the first time you come together and you hold each other, it's like the hug when you breathe in is so much, you can almost feel your bodies dissolve and become one, and that makes the sex just feel merged. The two of you merged in this romantic union, and there's just an inherent meaning in that. And so there are other states of presence as well. There's like pure awareness, the pure meditation, I know who I am, gnosis, complete self-knowledge. The way the universe works makes sense. Much more of a kind of masculine, Shiva, Buddha-like awareness. And then there's joy, for example, complete spontaneous joy, loving of life, waking up and everything seems more vibrant today. The kind of feeling you see children have when they're playing outside, not the moments where they've fallen over and got in a fight and start crying, but every other moment where they just want to go running through the grass or get on a bike and go as fast as possible, just this effervescence of being a child. That too is a quality of presence. And we know we've found this as an adult because we just feel amazing. It's deep and profound, and you know you're in a state of presence when somebody asks you the question, is anything missing here? And you can say with full-hearted, easy-minded, heart-opened certainty, no, nothing is missing. Is anything incomplete? No, there's nothing incomplete. The world and everything in it is perfect as it is. In this deep presence, not just in this functional adult presence, but in this deep state of presence, I accept myself, I accept the world. I am confident. Like confidence is just inevitable. It's just a part of who I am. Of course, if I want something or want to do something, I can just go and do that. There's no kind of critic or sabotaging parts within me that get in the way of my confidence. So confidence is a quality of presence. I can meet any challenge. Bring it on. Even if I fail, I am great, worthy, inherently worthy as it is. So deep self-worth is a state of presence. Have you ever felt that, where it's like, my worth is infinite? Just because I am. Just because I am this baby cat, just because I am this little child without an ego, just because I am this 40 or 50-year-old man or woman, I am worthy just because I am. And this can be a feeling that kind of floods our body from the top of our head to the tips of our toes. And often we accidentally end up in a state of inherent worthiness, or in a flow state where we forget about our neurotic mind patterns. We end up in a state of this worthiness. But often in flow, we don't stop and really see or feel or sense into what our presence is like. We're absorbed in a task. But if you can gain consciousness of, wow, I'm in a flow state and I'm going to pause and feel myself and be in relationship with another person. Yeah, I can feel how I'm inherently worthy. And of course, a good series of coaching sessions is going to lead you from thinking worth is related to how much money you can bring in, or how much love you get, or what followers you have online. And by the end of a series of coaching, it's like you melt through all of that and you can sit in a chair and be like, my worth is infinite. When people ask me, what do you charge? Well, I can put some money on it. The money is going to reflect the amount of time I've got in my calendar and how much we need as a household to have a good income and be able to invest and achieve our dreams. But actually the value of being with me for this time cannot be measured in money, cannot be measured. It's just like an infinite gift. You can almost trip up into arrogance here. Oh my God, I don't want to claim things like that. But what if you were saturated with a feeling of your own self-worth is infinite? And that's what I'm talking here with presence. Even if you've had these peak experiences, it's possible that you haven't really gotten to know them in their depth. And then the final one I'm going to say, well, there's experiences of peace, there's experiences of power, there's experiences of strength. So the strength that you need to set a boundary with an open heart requires a quality of presence, which is strength. Strength, ferocity, discernment. There's a real masculine edge of different qualities of presence which are required if you're under attack and people are kind of fighting you or attacking you in public, to be able to stay in a depth of presence and be like, I hear your words, they're not true for me, I feel attacked, but I'm not going to react back, I'm going to stand here in my dignity. That requires a deep state of presence. And of course the final one I'll add now, and this is something I talk about a lot on the channel, which is kind of my personal favorite, I guess, is the quality of passion. There is a deep state of presence, which is passion, which is not a sexual, I need this woman, I need this object to make me feel good kind of passion, but it's a passion of like, I'm alive, I'm brimming, everything I put my attention on right now is exciting to me, I'm fully engaged with life. I don't need anything to feel passionate, but who I am is passion. And in all of these states of presence, I ask the question, is anything missing? Is anything incomplete? And if there's a sense of, yeah, I would feel more passionate if I had this, then you haven't quite got to the deepest presence yet. It's like, yeah, I'm in love with that woman, and just feeling complete passion and love in my body, even if I don't have her, like, this is enough. And if you can feel that as true for yourself, you're going to really be unstoppable in any domain of your life, right? So this is the gift of presence. This is why it's kind of a finishing point for any coaching, is because once you discover the spiritual reality of presence and it sits in you and you identify as it, you can take on anything in life. And if you've become well acquainted with all of the different qualities I've just mentioned, then cometh the moment, say you need to be tender and protective father, say you need to be fighting on the battlefield, say you're with your wife or your woman and she needs some more vulnerability and ecstasy from your heart, given the moment you can summon the right quality of presence to meet the demands that are there right in front of you. And Almaas and some, well, teachers actually going back millennia again have called this the pearl beyond price. The pearl beyond price is having unlocked, let's say within you, the 99 faces of God, all the different sublime virtues, all of these qualities of presence, so that whatever life throws at you, your body just kind of morphs into the right kind of presence to meet that moment. And as your body and your presence morphs, any tactics, strategies that you might employ arise from the logic and the wisdom and the insight of the moment. So this is presence, deep presence, the result and the end place of healing, but also spontaneous gifts of the universe. I hope that makes sense. Now, I'm going to go into the nature of absence. So on one side of the coin, we have presence, and on that side of the coin are included all of the qualities and states and colors and hues of presence that I just talked about. But on the dark side of the coin, over here, we have absence. When presence is not there, there is absence. I don't feel joy today. I don't feel much love or exaltation in my heart for anyone or anything today. I don't feel much self-acceptance today. I don't feel much acceptance of anyone today. I feel not much power, not much strength, not much clarity, not much passion. Actually, I feel none of that, and I feel no peace either. I'm kind of irritated and not at ease in my own skin. So what we could say about those moments is that we are just in an absence. And I think some religions will talk about that God is absent, or there is an absence of God, or the absence of the sublime. And in a more conventional language here, secular language, I'm saying just these qualities of presence and not that. So you're not fueled. What to do? And this is the really interesting thing. Humans, as it turns out, seem to be horrified at tolerating the experience of absence. So when I'm not feeling any of these good qualities that I really, really like, then their absence is grey. And I had a client recently who said it really nicely. It's like, oh, I was feeling joy, and all of a sudden it's like someone blew out the last candle in a really cold, dark room. And it's just like void and dark and grey and absent. What do you do with that absence? And I'll tell you what I think all of us do and spend our entire lives doing. From that absence, we build a personality. And what the personality is doing is trying to compensate for that absence. So instead of sitting there and feeling those niggles and that void and that blackness and that coldness and that non-aliveness, which is as natural a part to us as presence, right? So presence and absence are like day and night, white and black. You have presence for half the day, then it's not there. You have absence, it's nighttime. So it's just natural that a human in their natural state will feel all these qualities of presence and then come back to an absence. And just like nighttime, you rest it out, you go to sleep, you just wait it out, you don't react, you don't think, shit, it's nighttime, I'm gonna have to overcompensate for that. Sure, you can turn on some lights in your house and read a book or whatever, but you sleep and you wake it out, you wait it out, and you just come to presence the next day. But humans are not like that. We want the presence. We get attached to that. We want to avoid the feeling of absence. And so within absence, we have some emotions that are difficult and niggling. We don't like those. And so we build personalities to get out of it. And the Enneagram, very much, if you've come across this personality, it's a very good system for understanding different types of personality. Just maps out the different ways that human beings respond to different absences. And so instead of being happy to feel a temporary absence of self-worth, you try and make yourself worthy through material pursuits in the world. The high achiever personality takes root. I need to be number one in my class. I need to have this amount of job, salary. I'm going to brag about it to all my friends. I'm going to build this house and live in the right neighborhood and wear the right clothes, so all the rest of the world knows or thinks that I have self-worth. And at the center of this is trying to buy yourself into your own lie, which is, yeah, because I've had real material success in the world, I have self-worth. And that can work sometimes when your ego is believing in itself. You can really believe that you are worthy because you have achieved certain things in your life. And you look at other people and then you put them on a hierarchy of who's more worthy and who's less worthy. So you get this superiority, inferiority complex come in. We're well into the human condition right now, but isn't it strange? Like how would you feel, and maybe you have felt in your life, you achieve a whole bunch of material things, and you look at that and you think, well, I'm worthy because I've done A, B, C, D, and E, but I'm also unworthy because I've not achieved F, G, and H yet. So there's part of you that feels unworthy. You could compare like that entire ego effort, the effort of that entire personality, which is 24 hours a day going through life, trying to build himself back into a place of I feel worthy. But what if you could just feel like the newborn kitten, like the newborn child? I'm just worthy because I am. I don't need such and such results or job or status in society to have worth. I'm worthy as I am. And this is solid and deep worthiness as compared to the more brittle, fake or compensated worthiness, which will, and this is the thing I think about the soul's journey and the spiritual path, at some point that will break down. After you have achieved 3 or 4 big things, you look around and you actually perceive there's an emptiness to deriving your worth from your worldly success. And no matter how much more success you get, you don't actually feel any better. It's because your self-worth is all mentally constructed. And so then you become this cliche businessman who, monk that sold the Ferrari type thing. You throw away your business suit, your briefcase, you do away with your job, and you go off to India or Bali or wherever it is, looking for this mystical self-worth, which is innate and inherent. And that is the quality of presence that you could have. It's a lot closer at hand than all of that. But the work, of course, is dissolving the whole ego personality enough so that that opens up and you can drop through your wounds, your memories of disappointment, the hurts that you've had before in the past, feel and process all that, and end up via grace into a feeling of deep self-worth. So we can do that with all the different qualities and all the different personality types. For me, one of my preferred qualities of presence has always been joy. I wanted to feel excitement, enthusiasm, joy, play. And for some reason, can't imagine what, coming from the British schooling system and the general attitude of our country, the joy got squeezed out of me very much in my late childhood and teenage years. And so what we do in the UK to overcompensate for that is we get drunk at the weekend, or it's a massive culture of partying and trying to find the joy which has been squeezed out of us systemically for hundreds of years, trying to find that through diversions and entertainment. And in my case, I tried to find it through travel. I was like, work in the system, and my home country is horribly boring and grey. The sky is grey, everything about it is grey. The buildings that were being constructed at the time, everything grey. If I just go to a sunny and exuberant tropical country, then I'm going to feel joy. And so that's what I did. I became an Epicurean, a lover of life, a hedonist, to try and bring joy in through the senses and through my experiences. And that worked for a while. So as long as I had enough money in the bank to go to the parties and eat the good food, and I could travel to the place where the fun was at, then I could sit in the middle of that place and imbibe joy and compensate for the absence of the real quality of joy underneath. And obviously, as years went on, my personality would catch up with me, and I definitely sat in the middle of the Brazil carnival feeling great, right? The ego would clamp up, my programming would take hold, and I wouldn't be able to take joy in through the senses. It just wouldn't work. Like we talked about with a success, ego fixation, I had an enjoyment or a joy ego fixation, and sometimes that would just close up, and my compensated mechanisms for getting more joy from the world didn't work anymore. What did work? Well, the exploration again is to loosen up some of the psyche, come into some of the experiences of not having joy, the grayness, really facing the grayness, feeling the grayness. And actually as I drop through the emotions that I've been spending my whole life trying to avoid, I can actually drop through into proper, true, natural joy, the quality of presence that is joy, which is even in the middle of winter on the greyest afternoon in the most boring place, without any of the feather boas and dancing girls and glitter of Rio, I could sit in just some old stodgy local community with a weak cup of tea and look at other people in the eye and feel joy, to be in communion, to be in connection. And that's possible. So interestingly, it's more than interestingly, it's kind of the answer to the entire malaise of the ego and the personality, and how to access presence, which is once we learn to embrace the absence. So you could feel an absence of joy, and then you could go outside and try and find friends and a party and some drink. Instead of doing that, What if you just sat and felt the absence? And time again, I felt this to be true in me. I see this to be true in coaching clients. If you sit in the dark, cold void of absence long enough, and you don't react to the emotions that pop up, you witness them, allow them, let them be, and you don't coalesce yourself into an overcompensated ego apparatus and then try and grab those qualities, those spiritual states, those aspects of God through material pursuits, you can just sit in the absence. It doesn't take long for the absence to kind of work its way through, and then you can flicker back into presence. It's like that really beautiful image of the yin yang, right? If you go into the darkest black, there's no joy here, there's no passion here, there is no connection here, I don't feel confident here, I don't feel powerful, I don't feel clear here. If you can sit actually with those in the complete void of those feelings without popping out, at some point in that dark black, a little spot of white will open and you will either flicker back into the presence itself. Who would have thought I could find deepest meaning in the most mundane of jobs? It's the attitude of volunteering and karma yoga. Who would have thought I could do the lowliest sweeping of the steps, but my heart could open and find meaning in the midst of this job? Who would have thought I felt no confidence, but just by sitting in that void, I got to know a piece of myself that is still human and still here and is enough, strangely. I'm not the best public speaker. I'm not the best at creating intimate magic on my dates, but there's a part of me deep down that is good and whole just being here. And that's what you discover if you can only, and this is the thing that humans are wired to be poor at doing, but if you can only sit with your pure absence long enough, it will flicker back into presence. Or it might take you into a deeper spiritual experience altogether. We'll talk about that in another video. So feel free to ask any questions, because what I'm talking about here is really the nature of the human condition and also the answer to the human condition. And yet we can spend decades seeking and searching, stuck somewhere between an ego personality and some horrible feelings that we don't like and we reject. That's kind of our ongoing feeling day to day, looking for the state of presence, but not understanding presence. And then we look for it through material ends. And it's actually very, very simple, the mechanism to get some healing, but it's so simple, it's hidden from plain sight. So what I've described here today is absolutely core to my understanding of the human being and my model of coaching, which is, so many coaching models say they collude actually with your overcompensation. Hey, I want to be more handsome and dynamic and a better flirt with women so I can have more women. Okay, so you can learn those skills and get more women, but you're just perfecting an overcompensation. What if instead of becoming a better overcompensator, you found the deep well of passion and joy within yourself, or you radically were able to open your heart, feel your self-value, and feel that ecstatic love for the world, for yourself? What if you could open that up? Well, that's what I'm taking you to do. So if you want to sign up and do some work with me now or in the future, what I'm going to be doing is really inviting you to look through your overcompensations, your ways of skipping out of your feelings and yourself, and sitting with you in whatever emotions come up, in whatever absence comes up, so you can just discover for yourself in your own skin and in your own body, and as your own awareness, a multitude of qualities of presence. And what can I say? That's the deep answer to becoming a truly at home, at ease, inspiring leader, lover, father, artist, creator in this world, and very much the thing that this world needs. More men, more women who've discovered within themselves that pearl of living price, that you are presence first of all, and that you can refract and kaleidoscopically change into the very quality that you need to meet the demands of every single moment. All right, that was longer than I thought it was going to be, but it's such a juicy concept. If you want more of my work, please subscribe to this channel. My Substack is below. And if you want one-on-one coaching with me, then my details are also in a hyperlink below where you can find out more about sessions. Thank you. I'll be back in the next video on this theme of presence to talk about long-term absence, nihilism, spiritual void, and the journey of soul initiation.